Hello, everybody. It's Mariner here. How are you doing? And welcome to, it is the first show of 2022. I'm not quite sure. Happy New Year, everybody. And for the first show this year, we have the full team with us. So I am excited to announce the freshly unflagged FPL Nima, who is muted.
Oh yeah, no, it's for the heavy breathing.
But yes, welcome back to the land of the living, sir. How are you?
Yeah, good. Looking forward to 2022 now. Obviously COVID free, so hopefully it stays that way this year.
Super immune.
Yeah.
Gabe, as always, is with us as well. How are you, sir? How is Phoenix?
Phoenix, Phoenix is Phoenix. It doesn't get too cold here. It's chilly at night. It's quite mild, and yeah, things are all right. Things are okay for a sleepy January.
It's certainly sleepy for me. Well, or not, as the case may be. Anyway, there we go. Enough of my woes. So, what are we going to do today, boys? Well, we're just going to have a bit. We've got a few slides, but it's just going to be a general chit chat, I think, because I think between us, we've had very little chance to actually prepare or discuss what we've put on the slides. So what we'll do is we'll just see what we got, how we go. But as always, the same format as we try to do for these like international breaks. This isn't an international break. I've called it a January break. Thank God for that. We're going to have a look at where we are with form teams. We're going to have a look at some of the best assets used in the power tables. And we've also got a little bit of information on Gabe's NetxG version 2.0, which we spent quite a while messing around with the computer this week over lunchtimes.
And late nights.
Lunchtimes for me and late nights for you. Nima, do you want to say hello to a few people as always, and then we'll do the mini league and then we'll get into it?
Yeah, I guess it's 1:15 and we did say we'd go live at 10, so I can only blame myself and Gabriel here because Chris was there despite the no sleep and the newborn baby.
To be fair, I told them all in the chat that it was your fault as well, so that's fine.
At least you've outed us from the beginning,
yes,
so it's all good. So Bungle's the first one here to say morning. He's looking forward to a weekend show. We've got Nehal here as well. So all aboard the Hall train. Tom Stevenson, obviously good friend of the show. Donny FPL. Is it Donny?
It's Donny.
Okay, I'm checking. Donny. I'm bad with these pronunciations.
It's like the sound of music. Do a deer. So it's Donny.
Do re ni.
Yeah.
And you're Irish, right? That's what I got from it. That's an Irish name. Is that right?
Right.
Cool. So we've got Mike Halpin, fellow Gooner here. Good to see you, mate. FPL Escapades and other friends of the show. And we have, oh, look, it's Chris is in there as well, trying to catfish with a picture that looks very, very different.
It's old.
It looks like a stock photo from some kind of modeling shoot.
It was from 2016, that photograph.
2016, okay. I caught you out.
That was in the days when I used to drink white wine, not red.
Are you telling me I should stop drinking this red wine on a Friday night and go buy some white wine? We got Nasu as well. Good evening. We got some. What are you waiting for? Merchandise. Any news on that, Chris?
Well, this year.
Oh, well, okay, it's coming. It's really coming.
Well, it's not. Well, so Christmas. Christmas. But yeah,
this year is a long time. This year, way to give yourself a cushion there, man.
When Nima and I finally
7 days in.
When we finally get Mariner Fest done, when I get back to London this year, and I will be.
When you come to London, we're going to announce it nice and early in advance.
And we'll get this, be like a stag do. We're like a reunion. We'll get all these "What are you waiting for?" T-shirts for them.
We'll get everyone to wear.
Yeah.
That will be the entry. You don't have to pay entry ticket. You just
like
get
Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, but you could dress up as Ali G.
I've got the costume. I will wear it on an outing. Pikachu's been done because I found out there's some furries in the community, and me sitting on their lap at these events isn't the best of ideas. So, hi to Blue Danube guy as well. Nice to see you,
Danube.
I'm so sorry. I always do this.
He's the worst.
I'm the worst. Danube. I'm sorry, mate. No, but I call him. I don't call him Blue Danube. That's why. I call him by his Twitter handle, so it confuses me. We've got Kieran here as well.
Oh, another super immune individual.
He's recovered just like me.
Yes.
It's good to hear. Fellas here as well. Evening, mate. He heard about the catfish and arrived swiftly. Catfish hunter, as they say, self-proclaimed. Jared Whittinger. Nice to see you, mate. Quack, quack, squeak, squeak, rubber ducky. Oh, we've got FPL Trinity as well. Good to see you, Jigs, my friend. Shame about the next fest. I actually met Jigs at Fest last time, right at the beginning. And we went and saw FPL Mate together. We went to
But I'm going to
introduce
call you
ourselves.
out on this fest anyway, because you've decided to organise your own to specially spread the Omicron variant around the FPL community. You are doing your bit for making the FPL community immune. Is that correct?
I don't know about that. I think there was calls requesting me to do it. So it was kind of like Fest fell through. And obviously I was looking forward to go. People took annual leave, booked accommodation, transport. And then next thing I know, people are like, Nima, like, we need Nima Fest Part 2. And I'm like, no, you should make it Harry Fest or FPL Tips. I'm trying to like push the name onto someone else so that they get the blame. Obviously if COVID spreads at this meetup of 10 FPL managers in London instead of Fest, I don't want it to be linked to me. So I'm trying to name it something else apart from Nima Fest, but for now it's on me. So we've got Jack here as well. He's a fellow Nima Fest attendee in the 21st of Jan.
No, you're just a social bitch, aren't you, these days?
So in the Scout Community Tournament, yeah. So like obviously the Nameless Ones team we're in. I know Gabe's in the tournament too. My name is the slutty one, so I don't know why. I feel it's a bit unfair, but
you know exactly why.
All I can say is by what I've been seeing on social media, I think that's exactly true.
I don't know. Maybe it's the social media image, in it. We only show the part of ourselves we want to be seen, and then in the DMs. So everyone's always talking about how nice I am, what a nice guy in the community, and then people who talk to me a lot, they're always like, "Oh man, you're so different to how I thought you were." So the people who come to Nima Fest, they love it. Like
lure them
shops everywhere.
Anyway, Gabe, would you like to do the mini league? I'll put it onto the screen for you.
Mini league. Our friend Brad Curry remains in first place. So the code is FG1XNB. Pfizer Chiefs remains in first place. He's on 36 this game week. His overall rank is 61. Well done, Brad. He's only used one wild card, which is quite standard, which is good stuff. Ryan Quinn is the opposite. Ryan Quinn looks for early glory. So he's the kind that'll, that the one night stand guy that'll just give you everything he's got that one time, and then he just dissipates. He's probably going to leave his team soon here. He's in second place. He's used bench boost, triple captain, wild card, and 2 free hits.
And he's also taken 64 points in hits.
And his OR is 324 for the listeners on podcast.
I'll tell you what, that really does show you, because I've been expecting, no disrespect, I know Ryan listens and watches the show.
Yeah.
No disrespect to you, Ryan, but I've been expecting you to drop. So I am actually amazed to see that you are holding on.
Just steady, the whole season.
Steady as you go with hits. It just shows that this game is not just, you can play this game multiple ways, right?
And I think we all expect, I mean, again, no offense or anything, but I think we all expect Ryan to kind of come crashing down with no hits as things get complicated, right? But hey, fair play.
To come. If you're still in the top 10K by the end of the season, massive props from me. But I think top 1K right now, that looks tasty. But I don't know if that can last, because how many people haven't used chips? I think they say something like 50% of the top 10K at the moment, just over half haven't used all their chips. The others have. So there's a lot of people who are going to be coming for you at your chasing pack.
I would love to know what Ryan Quinn's hit strategy is, because the hits seem to be working for him as he maintains that rank. So third place we have the Kong FPL planner, Tien Ngo. He's on 45 this week. His overall rank is 482. He's only used a wild card. So well done to the top 3. Good job. And we don't have to mention any of the other ones, right, Nima? I don't think there's anything else.
No, but I would say the top 8 are all in the top 1K. So it's a pretty impressive ranks. I think there's someone who's been trying to put himself into the picture, sneaking into 10th place. But if you're on podcast, I don't think it's
let's give him,
so we're not talking about me at the moment.
Let's give him his fair respect. So we have Eleanor at number 4. Lundstrom Goats at number 5. FPL Milanista, Obai, he's a great account on Twitter as well. He's got some insightful views on the game in general. He's we got Tierney's Tesco bag at number 7 with 41 points. Everyone I've mentioned so far is in the top 1K. Then we dip out of the top 1K a little bit with Template FC at 1K. Donny's duds. That's our friend Donny in the chat. And creeping up on Donny, we have our very own the Brothers Grimsby, Mr. Mariner, with 1.4K. Look at you.
Yeah, that's not. I'm not going to stay there. Not next week.
I see everyone's Captain Bowen.
If anyone
apart
saw
from
my
Donny.
tweet about which I posted at 4:00 this morning when I saw that Dennis is now flagged.
No, he's fine. He's fine.
I think it's just a cup thing. Well, that's great then, because that means I've got 2 double game weeks.
He's rested for that too.
Yeah, I'm so pissed off.
So we have 9
both free hits.
So we have 9 Bowen captainers
and one. My other one.
We have 9. We have 9 Bowen captainers and 1 Antonio captainer, which is Donny. So we'll see how that turns out against Norwich.
Absolutely. Right. Thanks, Gabe. So yeah, the mini league's still open, but the closer I get to the top, the more likely is I'm going to close it.
Our Windows prizes for yourself, top 3,
and start kicking people out.
Right. Anyway, before we crack on, if you haven't hit the like and subscribe button or smash that like button, as Nima will say, then please do. I won't let him rant. You can rant later, Nima, if we haven't got enough. No, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you don't always. You can also catch us on a pod, which now, because we've deleted a load of stuff off StreamYard, we can actually upload next week, can't we?
I'm hoping so. So people contacted me saying, what happened? Your last episode was December 23rd. I was like, no, there was definitely one on the 30th for Gameweek 21. And they were like, but I just listened on Castbox. And I was like, I'm so sorry, man. So we're back on podcast. Don't worry. I think therefore we died.
We've sacked someone in the background. The
computer says no.
Yeah, computer says no. Right, let's have a look at these form teams on fixture difficulty and try and make some sense out about what's going on in FPL. And FPL, as always, this year has just continued the way that it left off last year. Fixture difficulty, however, has changed for the new year, and now it has finally got rid of all last season's data. We are now on this season's data alone, and we have split it between the first half of the season and the second half of the season at this moment in time. And we've basically, so what you've got now is the variance you'll see is the most recent performances at home and away. And obviously the fixture difficulty between 0 and 7, 0 good, 7 bad, is just this season's data. So everyone now is treated the same. So what did it throw out at us? Well, the first thing it did is it just proved that at home, Manchester City and Liverpool are on the verge of breaking the metric because they're both 0. They can't get any better, and they're both improving over what they were. So goodness knows what's going on there. Chelsea third with 1.1, so a gap. Spurs now, all of a sudden, we're starting to see the Spurs uptick, but you can see that we could just put a big red cross over that picture of Son, couldn't we? Because overnight the news broke that Son is out till when? Gameweek 24, is it?
Yeah, but I don't know, man. I've heard this stuff about Kane many a year, like he's injured before Arsenal and miraculously fit. It happens with De Bruyne against Arsenal a lot too. So I just find it a bit suspect that Son has suddenly got this injury that could be 2 weeks, hamstring issue, or it could be 5 weeks, they're saying. So that's a big scale. And he's recovered from a hamstring injury quickly before. So I'm keeping an eye out. I've got him. Obviously, I'm not one of those 380,000 who, I'm sorry to call you guys out, but you went a bit early. Let's be real here. Did the Salah to Son move. And there's 382,000 of you who I've seen go from saying, I'm using one free transfer or taking a hit. And now you're like, that's it. Fuck it. I'm activating my free hit. like all the group chats, all the Twitter, everything just exploded. Like, I don't think much has changed apart from you have maybe one less double game week or I don't know if that's enough to tilt me into a chip, but And I've been saying, like, just wait till next Friday. Like, every day things are just going mental. Like, I don't know what's going to come next.
I mean, the interesting thing, and I think the important thing to say, is that any postponed games will kill any double game weeks.
Yeah,
as well.
Some of the double games
postponed
can be
FA
cancelled.
Cup games could kill double game weeks, right?
Yeah, but depending on who goes through this weekend, that's why I don't even.
Oops.
Lose you for a second. Am I back?
Yes.
I think I'm back. Yeah. I think
the headphone for a second with the mic. I'm
You're
back.
good, right? They're good.
Oh,
Now,
yeah. So I think
saying?
if this weekend goes ahead as planned, there could be some double game weeks in 23. So people who've got like Watkins now, they're looking to sell him for like, say, a Dennis. And then the problem is like he could have a double. There's two pretty good fixtures in 23 himself. So I think it's a tough call to make. And obviously you have to wait for certain Prem teams to be other ones in the Cup. So I think if certain teams get knocked out, like Villa and their opponent, who would be the team in Game Week 23, I think it might be Leeds. If Leeds is knocked out and Villa are knocked out this weekend, there's a huge chance suddenly that Watkins has a double game week. So, you know, it's tough times. What do you do now? So I think you've got to wait for the FA Cup this weekend either way.
Well, you have to. You have to. I mean, look, anyone who tries to plan FPL, and I tried very hard to plan for double game week 22, and I thought, oh, that's good. I'll keep my Liverpool assets. Oh, yes. What I'll do is I'll bring Calvert-Lewin in, which was a punt, to be fair, and Gray, which wasn't so much of a punt, given the fact that looking at the fixtures and looking at the prospective double game week, and it's not Ben's fault.
No, it was a punt as a stats man. He had like 6 goals from 4 shots or something all season.
Yeah, but look, at the end of the day, I had 3 Liverpool, 2 Everton, neither have doubled. I've gone from 7 double game weekers where I was going to take it up to 9 or 10 to 2.
Yeah, no, it is happened to a lot of people, but I think I've seen people who wildcarded like in Game Week 19 or maybe even last week in preparation for this bench boost. And some of them are still thinking like they're just pot committed, they're saying, so they're just going to go with it and take a hit. I don't know, like with COVID and stuff, as you said, for all we know, like one match could be ended after the game week deadline, and suddenly that team doesn't have a double game week. So that kind of worries me. Like Burnley obviously have a bit of a COVID problem right now. I know 7-day isolation is plenty time till the next deadline, but that would remove Watford's double game week if Burnley couldn't, put out a team. So that kind of stuff, I look at that and I think, is it really worth, like, imagine you sold Watkins, Dennis ends up having a single game week, and then Watkins has a double and you don't have him. So it feels like there's just too many unknowns. What I would say is long-term planning is definitely out the window for anyone listening. I think they probably agree. It's almost like a daily fantasy sport now. You just take each game week at a time.
Well, I think that's life, isn't it, Gabe? What's your view, Gabe, on the attacking side of things? Of course, Arsenal are now showing properly onto the system, although it's still the 5th now. So finally at home, Arsenal are showing. But look at it. We're obviously going to talk about NetxG in a minute, but the very early points we're going to make here, I think, Gabe, is look at some of the teams who are doubling. Not very good, are they, with respect to attacking fixture difficulty? I think it might be slim pickings. What's your view on the attacking side of things before we move across to defense?
Well, on the double, I think I would say that we have to look at the way we're thinking about the double. Like it's inconsistent to look at the double and think of it as a poor double game week, but we're still going to.
It's still a double game week.
It's a double game week, but
with 8 fixtures.
If it's a poor double game week, then is it really worth taking hits to get into that double game week? If it's not worth a free hit, is it worth hits at all? Maybe. I mean, maybe not. There are some single game week players that with decent enough fixtures, right, that can carry us through.
My poll, which I put out on Twitter, and I haven't looked in the last few hours, but I think my poll suggested the vast majority of people would be navigating this with hits rather than chips. Now, that might be because they're lucky and they haven't come on the wrong side of the variance like I think I have, and Nima, I think you have as well, because you've got 2 Everton as well, haven't you?
No, I've just got the 1, but I was hoping they would have like a double game week as well again.
Me too.
But obviously they didn't, so that's a bit painful. At least it's Norwich, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is it Norwich? Yeah, it's a good enough game.
Is it Norwich?
The single game week fixture. I think it is. It's good enough. And then I don't know.
Yeah.
I think for me, like it's still worth the hit if there's players that you don't own that are going to kill you. So like I think there's like 6 to 8 players that like if you had them now, you could get to them, you're probably fine. And even if you're missing a couple, it's all right. And it's kind of like one of the Watford duo. It's going to be a Ronaldo probably, maybe a De Gea. There's not much there. Like maybe a Leicester mid.
Well,
It makes me
Kane maybe
well,
Mora, and then the
well,
single game weekers, like you said, right?
It
Jota,
makes me
Bowen.
think about the situation I'm in. Do I just play the EO game and just bring in the most highly owned players that
Ronaldo and Dennis? That would be if you don't have
I
them.
do not own. I own him. That I
Oh,
do
damn.
not own who have doubles. Yeah, it's almost like is that the defensive move? It might.
That's what I mean. Like you don't need to use a
Yeah.
chip, and you could get away with like you might take a small hit, but like I've taken a -8 this week, and I've not taken hits all season. Like I think I took one a few weeks ago, then I took a second one, and now I've taken 2 in one game week. So that's all the hits I've taken just during this COVID madness. And the -8, like I'm still on a grey arrow. I'm still sitting around 19k, and I could have done nothing, as you say. So like DCL got me 0, Dawson's got 1 point so far. So the game week's not over yet. As it stands, it doesn't look great. Like I could have just played Bernardo Silva instead of hitting him out. Certain things haven't gone my way, but I look at it as like a lottery ticket. And if you don't buy the ticket, you can't be part of the ride. And I think that's the whole fun of FPL is the double game weeks for me. So it's like, if this is the second biggest one we might see all season, bar 36, which will be the biggest, maybe you don't want a wild card, as Tom Stevenson saying, like now's not the time to do it, to use your second one. But you could still, I reckon, just take some hits like a -4 and a -8 and get that kind of Dennis or King if you don't have a Watford attacker, or get a Ronaldo or Kane for a captain. So I think that's the other thing I would say is if you don't have a captain shout with
That's the
Son
problem
out,
I've got.
like what are you
That's
going
the
to do?
problem I've got now. That's the problem I've got now. I've no captain because
Like, do you want
Son
to captain a premium?
Son
Or
would
do
have
you,
been.
yeah, what are you
It
going
would
to
have
do?
been a simple move from Salah to Son, and it would have been a Son captaincy.
You
And
can do
of
Salah
course,
to Bruno. I don't want to get too
Oh,
many ruffled feathers out here.
God.
But
I'm on dry January, man. I have thought about Bruno as a placeholder, but I mean, dare you captain? I'll show you something about Bruno in a bit. Actually, it's frightening.
no, I've seen his numbers because I've been insulting him for days
Frightening.
now.
Frightening.
Since United lost to Wolves, I've been at their throats. All my friends who are United fans. Growing up, there was a lot of them in London.
Poor old Craig from FPL Expectations has moved back to the UK, lives in Manchester now, was crowing all over Twitter that he was going to watch Manchester United against Wolves. Sorry, Craig.
All right, let's get to the I think let's go to the defense. I think rather than double game weeks, let's just go through.
Well,
I'd
like to finish what I was. I haven't said anything.
Well, we
just
go
for it.
Sorry, we're just. I'm all over the place.
I was just thinking like I think we have to think about this game. We can like kind of look at the way we're thinking about it. If it's a bad double game week, then we need to kind of take a second look at any thought to hit into this game week or free hit into the game week. If it's a double game week where we see some advantages, then we need to look at what the replacement options are going to be, because is it worth taking out Tony for Dennis for a hit, for example? A lot of people are looking at that. Nima, you mentioned, for example, Watkins' fixtures moving forward are really good. Is it worth taking Watkins out to bring in someone like Dennis or
even Antonio and Calvert-Lewin, right? People might take them out.
Correct.
This is the problem.
And in the midfield, you want to bring Madison in. Madison it's a decent double game week, right? But they have tough fixtures coming up, so it's a short-term move. So are we taking hits? Like it's just a dangerous. It could be fraught with peril if we're taking hits for short-term moves, right?
I agree.
It is true, but I guess what I'm saying is because it feels like daily fantasy, I feel like you have to just attack each game week now and like just keep up that EO stuff. Like maybe have at least 4 or 5 out of the 8 that could hurt you. So for me, like not having a Ronaldo or Dennis, it's not even attacking a double game week anymore. It's just, shall I just get the players that are going to hurt me most if over 2 games they screw me? Now I've got King. It makes no sense to go King to Dennis. So I'm just going to have to punt that King hopefully pays off. So then it's like, what do I do next? Because I had Salah, I have Son. If they're both out, like I've got to sell one of them, right? So it's not that I want Madison, but it's like, I'd rather have a player that plays than one that doesn't. But with free hit, I think it's harder though, Gabe. You're right. Because with free hit, if you're taking out single game weekers who could do well, it doesn't mean your free hit's going to outscore. Like it could actually underscore what your team had before.
Yeah.
So I think
And
you've got to make a call.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to make that decision. Like, what's the team now with -4 versus a free hit? How many
And-
players difference do you expect to get points from? Like,
And do you want those players, like if you're not doing free hit, do you really want those players that you're bringing in your team for how long? And if you're going to take a hit for them, then the time it takes to pay that hit off is shortened, which makes you more susceptible to variance.
I think so. Yeah.
I mean, look, I'm just changing the order of the run show because we're actually on this at the moment, so I think we better stay on this. So what I wanted to do is put the NetxG up because I think this also, I mean, we'll come back to the fixtures and things like that in a bit. I think it's like I say, we'll just freestyle this, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you look at this, and I think this really shows, this is the new NetxG, Gabe, isn't it?
Yeah.
And what I've done is I've summarized this on the basis of teams that could are projected to score at least 2 goals, right? At least 2 goals.
Mm-hmm.
So 2 goals or more. And if we look at this, let's look at which teams are we targeting? So everyone's going to say Spurs, right? Okay, so now maybe not now, but if you were with Son, Spurs had a 44% chance, according to NetxG, of 2+ goals against Arsenal at home, but only a 20% chance for that double game against Leicester. Right? That's not Hall material by the looks of things to me, although, we could argue that Leicester are weak at the moment. But let's look at some other ones. Manchester United, 24% for 2+ goals against Villa and 24% for 2+ goals against Brentford. Not great. So the more I look at this, I think I can oppose nearly every attacking unit for one of the 2 fixtures. At least. What's your perspective here, guys? Because, Gabe, this is your baby. Where are you with all this? Because the more I looked at this, the more I switched off the double game week teams.
That's because you don't like Mopai, though. Look at Brighton's percentage.
Yeah, but it's all right for the first. No, but it's all right for one game, mate. But that's not the double game.
It's as bad as Burnley for Watford. Yeah, they both have a bad second game.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the other thing that kind of reinforces your point here, Mariner, is on the other side. Look at the clean sheets.
Yeah,
do the doublers? The doublers don't have great chance of clean sheets, and I know that's the next slide coming up.
Yeah, it's there. I'll move back to it, but if you wanted to quote it,
I'll get to it in just a second. But yeah,
okay.
on the attack side, what. There really isn't anything. Like I guess the highest for 2+ goals is that Liverpool game, right? Which is to be expected at 49% there for 2+ goals. But they don't double, and that's kind of what our conundrum, right? The Liverpool, City play Chelsea, so that's a difficult one. But Liverpool, City, Chelsea, West Ham. Some with decent fixtures, some not, but no doubles, and those are our major hitters. And I think that's why. But I think that's why it seems a little bit underwhelming. But there's something here like I think Leicester is a little bit underrated in their attack, but they're missing a lot of players. So I don't expect hauls.
Burnley away from home are no great shakes. Vardy's now out for 8 weeks.
Yeah.
Nacho's gone to AFCON. Daka's recovered from a hamstring injury. Like,
but
there's Lookman, there's Iosi Perez. This is what I mean again. So, like, would you really want any of these players, like even Tielemans or Madison, to be your Son replacement long term? Like, probably not. So that's the difficulty, unless you're on free hit, I think.
And short of Manchester United, whose fixtures get quite tasty around game week 20, 25, 26, 27, the fixtures for the teams who are doubling from 23, 24 onwards are not great at all. You don't want to be stuck with them. So I actually think that people might get drawn into, similarly with what's happened to me this week, in a sense. I've got drawn into the double game week last week, and now I'm left with 2 Everton and Dawson.
But they have a good fixture, and you've not even seen their second game.
Yeah.
You're going to come back here and be like, oh, I'm top 100, guys. Like, I regret everything I said last episode. Take it all back. Yeah, you're going to say, oh, I love double game weeks. Look how great they did.
Remember, we're still mid-game week, but the point is that I think you can get drawn into this. The more I look at this, the more I think it's going to be a case of trying to protect my rank somehow. If it does go, if on some freak they do go off some of these teams, I'm not sure they're going to. Let's.
Can I ask a quick question, just a strategy question? So if we're saying that taking hits to bring players that we don't want long term in is quite risky as a strategy, and using a free hit for a double game week that doesn't look very attractive from an attacking point of view is also a risky strategy, then
it is.
But
I think it's easy to say that's the safe.
But hold on, but then wouldn't logic dictate that then the best course is to do nothing? Just sit back, take it as it comes, or very little, right? Like, don't do anything drastic.
But a -4 isn't drastic in this COVID. Well, that's what I mean. Like, that's just the standard hit.
A -4 in a bad game week could be 10% of your.
I don't think it will be this week,
then that's drastic.
Because I think when you look at it, the last few weeks, the average hits, they've been disgusting numbers. Like -3.5 and -1.8.
That's true.
Yeah.
So I think you'll be in a good position if you don't take a hit.
And I always, and people, if you've only stumbled across us, when I think there's going to be a load of hits, and particularly when I'm contemplating making hits myself, I will put a poll out asking how many hits people are going to take, and then I'll calculate roughly the number of points that it's going to actually hurt me by.
I've seen he always calculates via polls and tries to get hundreds of people into like this sample and like.
It's good enough for me.
I love the faith that you have in polling.
But given that
half of them are not even FPL managers, they're like reading it and saying Ronaldo or Messi. Oh fuck it, I'll pick Ronaldo.
But ultimately, guys, it's the right way to do it. If you're going to take, if you see that there's going to be that the lion's share of people are going to take a hit of 4 points, then you can stretch it to 8. But don't get left with players who you don't want. Look,
it's got to be long term. I think that's what Gabe's getting at.
And the next challenge is, who am I going to take out? Because a lot of these players, these Liverpool players, and these
I'm going to buy Salah back in 24. Yeah, like, do I really want to sell him?
But does that lend you to free hit? Because that means
because I only have one left.
Got him for 1 week.
No, so I only have one left. I mean, that's where it's so no. But if you had 2 left and you couldn't get more than 2 double game weekers out right now or 3, I would probably just free hit and try to get like 10, maybe 9 double game weekers and have like a Bowen, Trent, Jota, or an Antonio in there with them as a single game weeker.
I think that's fair.
But I think that I would do it if I had 2, just because that's like one of the ways to get ahead now. And you still have your second one to free hit in the big blank game week in 30 when the quarterfinals of the FA Cup happen. So I think that's one strategy if you had 2. The alternative that I've seen explored is a very interesting one, is in 27 when Arsenal, Liverpool, Chelsea, Leicester, they could all be blanking and then we have their assets. Liverpool could have a double game week of like Leeds and Norwich in 26. So it's kind of like, what are you going to do? Like, if you've got your Arsenal mids, if you've got your Chelsea defenders, if you've got your Leicester midfielder, if you've got all these players, and then they might have a double within a quick succession, what are you going to do? Like, you have to probably free hit. So for us who don't have a free hit for 27, if I had 2, you could maybe stumble through this week, do nothing or very little, as Gabe was saying and you were saying, free hit in 27 when Liverpool and Arsenal don't play, triple captain Salah in 26, and you're done with it. And then you can kind of use your second free hit to get through the blank game week in 30, and then wild card around 31 to 33. There's going to be double game weeks apparently from 33 through to 37. So that's like 4 or 5 double game weeks in a row.
It's going to be bloody chaos again, isn't it? It's going to be utter chaos. Same as last year. Aussie Sharks is asking, does Mariner back horses based on the jockey's colours? No, on the horse's colour, actually, because in the Grand National, I always back the grey, so I can see it.
So you can see it. So you can see it.
Yeah, that's the way I work. If I'm putting money on someone, I want to get some value for money out of it. I'm a tight northerner.
You want to enjoy it. I forgot you're from near Hull, the city of culture.
Don't you dare. say that. I
I
am
won't, say
not.
what you, I won't say what you call people from Hull because I have a friend from Hull in the FPL content community. That
Go on then.
no, you wouldn't want them to know what you think of people
What,
from
mud
Hull.
rats?
Yeah, exactly. Oh, you
Yeah.
said it. I
Yeah.
was going to say I'm not going to tell them what you think, but
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, it's all right. They call us codheads.
okay, fair enough. It's
Yeah.
a rivalry.
Yeah, they call us codheads. So yeah,
Got FPL
there we go.
Pepsi and
We
Thomas Jones
we
joining
love
as
them
well.
really well. Well, my son was born in Hull, so I've got to be a bit careful. Although he is a Grimsby fan. Defensively, Gabe, let's come on to the defensive side of things for NetxG, and let's, I think, paint a similar narrative. Although maybe, say, Brighton have a 45% chance of a clean sheet against Palace, 34 against Chelsea. Well, Brighton at home are not too bad, right? But look at Brentford, 18 and 38%. Burnley, 45 and 36. Now, the trouble with Burnley is if you're targeting a Burnley defender, who are you playing against? Oh, look, you're playing against Watford. You're going to be taking points off yourself because you're probably going to be owning Dennis or King or both, right?
Mm-hmm.
Chelsea, 23% against City, 33% against Brighton. Leicester, 31 clean sheet against Burnley, 41 against Spurs. That's strange. But
yeah, I mean, the one that I would like to start with is actually Manchester City, 49% clean sheet odds against Chelsea.
Yeah, for the singular. For
the single, yeah. And these are like the perils that we talk about, and you know, I've heard a lot of people. Actually, I was listening to the Black Box today, and they're considering benching Cancelo, and I think those decisions are what's going to kind of flip the game week one way or another, right? When you have like those points on the bench, those are the ones that I would kind of take a look at, and if you are making transfers. Not only who you're bringing in and out, but who the replacement option would be on the bench. So some people might take a hit to bring Dennis in, and that would move Cancelo to the bench. So
good point.
So I think that's
Yeah, it's all well and good looking saying, "Oh, I need more double game week," because then you look at it and you just create yourself a bench headache, and then you're looking at it and go, "Oh my God, what do I do now?"
Right.
Yeah, I'd have to bench one of Saka or Bowen if I'm -4 for Ronaldo.
Well, and why? You know, at the end of the day, Arsenal play the form that Saka is in, and the fact
It
it's a
seems
North
mad
London
to bench him.
derby,
Yeah,
it seems madness.
it does seem mad. Like the only nailed player in the entire attack, player of the season last year. Like it seems mad.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the rest of it, Watford 35% clean sheet again and 36%, but nobody owns any Watford defenders and nobody will. Spurs 35% and 35%. I think there you go. I think that's
But Sessegnon's back, and I think Conte likes him.
That's maybe where if I'm taking a hit, if I'm hitting someone in, maybe a Spurs defender. Manchester United 32% clean sheet against Villa, 25 against Brentford. Brentford are really like that. And in fact, Brentford's matchup for the double for the second game is very tasty. Or the NetxG is a very tasty game against Manchester United.
Yeah, it likes Brentford's attack, or maybe it doesn't like Manchester United's defense.
Yeah,
I think that might be the case.
Point. Yeah.
And it probably doesn't like, to be honest, it probably doesn't like Liverpool's defense recently either, right? They've had COVID, they've had no midfield, they've had injuries, so I think it's picking up data from Manchester United are bad, but maybe picking up data from a depleted Liverpool, and they are facing a depleted Liverpool, so I think there could be some action there. The other thing that I'll mention in regards to defense is look how high the percentages are for one goal across the board.
Yeah.
Right? That they're all close to 40, between 35 and 40, and 35 and 39% for one goal. That's quite high. And if we're looking at a bunch of 1-1s, that's not a very good narrative for defenders.
No, it'd be very interesting to see how this comes out. I've not, obviously it's too early to, but what I will do as I get closer to the deadline is I'll start plugging things into these, FPL optimized and things like that, and trying to work out, the number of points. Normally it worked, it calculated it nearly identically right for me in game week 19 when I free hitted. It was nearly bang on, to be fair. It said that I would get about 23 points over my free. I think I got 27 over, with my free hit over my normal team. So I think that's the way to look at it. But it's got to be plus 20 points, I think, minimum for a free hit, right? Over what you're doing. Maybe
I think 30 is what I'd be happy
30
with.
is better.
I'm not happy with my one. Yeah.
No.
It's not worth
I mean,
it.
that was all right. It made a big benefit to me. But then again, you see, it's all going to unwind. Mine's going to unwind now because other people have still got to play theirs. Then ultimately, we'll see where we all land, right? But I mean, look, in closing on this double game week, I think what we'll do is move back to the fixture difficulty and then sort of like fill in the gaps on the form, because there might be teams that we might see who have got double game weeks who have good form. So let's move back. But in closing, I'm really not that enthused by it. And I think if I was in my position with one or two, for God's sake, double game weekers, I think I'm going to take it maximum -8, and it'll be dependent on how many hits are in the system. But it might just be a -4.
I love how you spend all the time saying do nothing versus do not much, and then it's like -8 extreme, -4 minimum. But to be fair, you have two of them.
Well, what's wrong with that? I mean, isn't that strategy? Isn't that strategy?
That is the right strategy. But I'm just saying, like, everyone's saying like we don't need a double game weekers, but we seem to realize that there's a number between roughly 4 and 6. If you don't have 4 to 6,
well,
that
I'm not
could
going to get
wipe
there.
you
I
out.
mean, I can get to 4. But
that's
as I
what
say,
you have
what
to
I
try and
will
get to 4,
probably
yeah.
do, what I will probably do is look for a captain.
Yeah. Who are you going to captain?
I mean, I'm probably going to have to take someone out who I probably want to keep. I might have to take Calvert-Lewin out,
I'm going to take Antonio out, I think, but maybe Calvert-Lewin. We'll see.
I might take Calvert-Lewin out and just come back to him in a. I know it's a bit dangerous, but I think maybe Calvert-Lewin out, keep Antonio, because Antonio's got 3 very, very good home fixtures coming up.
He does. But then the question is, do you want double West Ham or just Bowen?
Antonio? I do.
You do.
But in fact, Gabe, one of the things we're looking at is we've been looking at some really interesting data, haven't we? Which we're hoping to share in the coming weeks with all the haulers. And that is that the links between the players now, it looks like we may well be able to report that type of stuff going forward. And if that's the case, if we get this agreement over the line, it could be fabulous, right? That would be a real groundbreaker, because then you'll be able to look at like when you're looking to double up on a team, then you can look and say, well, actually, yes, they combine a lot.
Right. Like we'll have a passing matrix to see who's passing to who the most in every single game.
You're going to give them an Arsenal sneak peek for Mike, or you're going to wait?
No, we're not.
No, I can't because it's
not
branded.
Allowed.
It's a
trade secret.
Allowed.
Yeah.
Not secret right now.
Not allowed. All right, guys. Look, let's go back to the fixture difficulty and quickly just summarize where we were on that. So let's go back to the home. Put that back on the screen. Whoops, wrong one.
Evening to FPL. Best FPLs here as well. Adam's family favorite.
Okay, good. So looking at form then, who have we got in form? Now, who's got a double game week and who's in form? Well, Spurs. Right? Spurs are in form, but now no Son. So Kane.
I think if I had him when Son wasn't obviously out, he felt like the exciting differential captain punt, like the sword pick of the week. With kind of Ronaldo, Son, and Dennis being the high EO picks, more shield. Now with Son out, I don't know if I'd move to Kane. On a free hit, I'd have him in a heartbeat, sure. But I'm not sure. It does open up the way for other Spurs mids, though, if someone wants to take a punt and they don't want a Leicester mid, right, for Son replacements.
Yeah, it does. And
you're saying they have the best
Lucas
double
Moura
game
or someone, Lucas Moura or someone like that.
Yeah, there's Bergwijn, there's Ali, it depends. There's Brian Gill if you want to kind of go cult TV shows.
The air is pretty thin up there, Nima. I don't know about Brian Gil. Gil. No, I mean,
You found out he was Spanish or English or I don't know where he's from.
I think he's from Argentina, right? I think he's Argentinian, but it might be Spanish. But
there's no one else in form, really. Look, not really in form. But Brentford have got a double game.
Let's take a look. Let's take a look at those mid-priced kind of replacement options. Like let's look Lucas Moura versus Madison versus Barnes, for example. That might be playing out of position for the next month.
Yeah, Harvey Barnes. Are you going to bring him in, Gabe?
That's what's Banger FPL Bangers in the chat. Of course, he like an hour ago. He's like Barnes. It's like
I know. I saw you said I hate you to him or something.
Yeah, I said I hate him.
Yeah, not happy about
that. It's a great question. It is a great question. I think what we should probably do when we talk about the individual players is I'll put these power ratings up, which might help us look at that. We'll just flick through. We'll talk about various things, then look at the power ratings on the basis of the discussion that we're looking at, rather than perhaps doing every one. The rest of them I'll just put on Twitter.
There are a couple of stats I want to throw in there. So I've been doing an investigation on overperformance and underperformance in the league thus far. So teams have played an average of about 19 matches this season, 19.1, I think it is. So we're like right at the halfway point of the season right now in terms of matches played across the season. And I was looking at Leicester. Leicester have the second highest. So I was looking at Delta data. So this is non-penalty XG Delta, right? So it's and they have the second highest in the last 6 game weeks, 0.52, which means they've scored about 5 goals more than their expected data would indicate in the last 6, which is a pretty huge overperformance, and it's responsible, like, over the season, just so as a comparison, that over the season their NPXG delta is positive 6.62. 5.2 of that has been in the last 6 game weeks. So something's going on at Leicester where they are outperforming their XG. And if they continue to do that, they have a double game week. I think someone like Harvey Barnes or Madison could actually be an upside kind of hauler type of pick.
I like him. He's probably who I'm getting. So I'm probably going to do Son to Madison. It was going to be Salah to Madison.
I would do Barnes. I would do Barnes because I can't stand Madison.
I wouldn't go near Barnes.
Madison is the other player who I absolutely hate, who is now back in my thought process, is Ruben Saiz. Yeah, enough of that from last season.
No, Madison's going to test positive for COVID in a few days from going to the
he is, because he went to the darts. You're right, Imagine so did Harvey Barnes.
That's what I'm telling you. They were together. I'm glad that dawned upon you for a second. So Iosi Perez, the unlikely hero of the double game week, the Lanzini or Gordon of game week 22. You heard it here first. Iosi Perez, guys.
If I knew if he was nailed, I agree.
Just for a 2-week punt, like a one game.
He's that kind of guy. Like, oh, it's a double game week. Okay, I'll come out and score 3, and then he'll never start for the rest of the season.
Never see him again.
Never see him again.
He has been a bit out. And Lookman is someone who, I guess they're saying, Fest is saying in the chat as well. And I think I'd look at Lookman, and he could be out of position too.
I think I would. And I'll tell you, maybe because he's that sort of price range where I can just drop him in as a Smith Rowe replacement, perhaps, if Smith Rowe's staying bench, because I'm more keen on Saka now than Smith Rowe. I think if I want a piece of that Arsenal midfield, but I want a piece of it which plays. And I know
isn't Lookman 6 million though?
About that.
He is, yeah, but he was a double game week hero last year as well.
Madison is 6.9.
That's what I mean.
Over Madison? I don't think so.
Depends what you think Madison's going to play and what positions there's going to be with Iheanacho and
depends if you think Lookman is any good.
But Perez has been frozen out, so that's the other side.
He might take a penalty, Gabe. You never know. He might take a penalty.
Tielemans is on penalty.
No, Tielemans. So that's the other player.
No. The Lookman penalty, remember?
That Fulham there, that penalty.
That is true.
So bad.
To be fair, the only reason we think...
I won $200 because he missed that penalty. I won $200 on that game because he missed that.
Oh, man. I think people have been told by Sam Martin that Tielemans is on penalties, but... it's like when we guessed Edouard was on penalties, and yeah, he was. doesn't mean we get right every time, right? Remember when we all guessed Ronaldo was on penalties and how that went down? So, yeah, we got to be careful. I don't think Tielemans is necessarily on it. Who
That's
knows?
fair. And we're dealing with Rodgers.
I'm not mad on him. The reason I'm actually looking at, I'm not mad on Leicester. So the reason I'm not mad, because I'm not mad on Leicester, I'm drawn to the cheaper assets. I'm afraid it tends to be that.
But who's cheaper than Leicester? Like 6.9 for a Madison is dirt cheap in a double game.
He is, but then you then got to move it. Whereas I can rot. If I could rot Lookman a little bit.
No, but you need to get Salah back, right? Or you need to get Son
that's
back.
it. But I've got the money to do that anyway.
But that's what I mean. So you could go for a Madison till they're fit or they're back from AFCON and just buy them back.
Just what I might be doing with my Livramento problem.
He just hates Madison.
He's going to take a -8, but he won't get a less.
You hate his haircut and his pink shoes, don't you? Admit it, Mariner.
He went and got Calvert-Lewin. I thought he was more metropolitan.
I rate him as a player. He's just probably the most. He's probably one of the most irritating assets I've ever owned in FPL. A consistently irritating asset for FPL.
You're not going to hold him for a long time, remember? So
no, good
it's
job.
just 2 weeks.
Well, I won't.
You're going to buy him, buddy. I'm going to wait till deadline, and I'm going to see him in your team.
If he's not flagged, I may well own him.
Unless you go for Lucas Moura.
Well, let's throw somebody else into this conversation as well. Chris Irvine here in the chat. What's up, Chris? He says Mount. So we have Moura, Mount, and Madison.
I think Mount's a free hit. No, Mount is a free hit, man. Like you can't bring in a player with 2 blanks.
No, he's got.
You can't bring in a guy with 2 blanks. Like it's just that's not.
Yeah, he's a free hit guy. He's a free hit guy.
You've got loads of blanks coming up. You can't consider.
You can't. Not as a free transfer or a hit. Like
not absolutely free hit guy.
I think Spurs midfielder, Leicester midfielder. Yeah.
And then you need like a Bowen and a Jota, so that's 2 spots gone.
Yeah.
Already. Yeah. I think on a free hit, I'd probably have I don't know. Like I like the idea of Kane, of Ronaldo, and Dennis. I think that's
I think that should be pretty template for free hit. But I think for people that don't want to don't want to bring certain players in and don't want to get rid of certain players to bring those players in, like it's like bad timing or something like that. I think for those people, a free hit could be an option. And I might be one of those people. I don't know.
Wait, look, if you've got it, I don't see why not. I've just been told to clean my glasses, so I'm just doing it.
But I think that wasn't actually that was actually a pun about like.
I know it was, but it's still
don't get Barnes. You couldn't touch. Look, at least it's not like Fergie. Someone counted how many times he touched his glasses frame in a Green Arrow podcast episode, and then they messaged him afterwards and were like, I counted and I've got a clicker app, and every time you touch your glasses, I clicked it. And there was like, in a 1 hour and a half stream, you clicked it on average every 13 seconds, like 700 times. And then he was like, please stop clicking it. It's distracting. And I was like, this is the best piece of content I've seen in 2021.
I hope nobody's watching us that closely.
Looking for swear words, right? Boys, can we quickly try and get through this fixture difficulty? I'm a bit mindful of the timestamps, which are just not going to work. I think we'll just say
it's going to be a roller coaster.
FPL,
it's going to be a heat map.
General bullshit. Right.
A heat map of bullshit.
I mean,
by the way, I just one thing, sorry, just to say to Chris Irvine to finish off this point. But we've got to reply to the live viewers. I think the people who've made it here tonight, see all 3 of us together, we might as well include them in the conversation. Like
no, absolutely. I was going to do that. I was just going to literally just rattle through this blasted slide.
We can, but we can just move off the slide and like be done with that.
It's
anyway,
like hanging over me like a sword of Damocles. This right. Anyway, but
you go to the away. Yeah, you go to. So he says he could get Mount as a short-term punt, and just when Salah's back, buy Salah. So I think in that scenario, Mount's lack of fixtures later is not that much worse than Madison's bad fixtures later. So if it is just for 2-3 weeks and you're going to sell anyway for Salah, like maybe he prefers a Chelsea asset than Madison, right? We were all just saying that we thought Chelsea's a better team. They made Spurs look average. I enjoyed that part.
Well, I mean, look, I want to see Gabe bring Reguilon in.
I can't do that. No.
Reguilon.
There you go. Yeah, that's
French
good.
now.
That's great. That's
Reguilon. I'm waking up now. I don't know if you've noticed. It's
I
think it's more the coffee hitting you.
Well, true. It might be like
a vodka train. Like an hour later, free coffees.
It might be. I mean, I don't know whether we bother looking at the other fixture. If I'll just post it on Twitter. Should we go to the actual individual players and have a look at that?
Yeah, I think that sounds fun.
Right. So, do we want to talk about goalkeepers? Is anyone in the market for a goalkeeper or not?
No, surely that's not a transfer people are looking at this week.
No. Well, I mean, I could just show you how bad my move off Ramsdale to De Gea was, but
De Gea is going to come good.
Week.
This double game week, he's going to come good. This double game week, he's the template pick.
He'd better. He'd better. Right. Okay. Let's move on to the next one. Let's move through then, and we'll go to defense. So if we're looking for any cheap defenders, this is quite interesting, Gabe. There's one team which is sort of like sneaking up on the rails. It's a very unfashionable pick, isn't it? And you'll start to see them starting to appear on this slide now. I don't know if you can see that. Hopefully you can. It's
a lot going on there, Mariner.
It is. It's big because I wanted to put it there.
Just which the player he's talking about is maybe
what I've done for a change, right? I just lobbed it all on. I didn't have time to filter it. What I've done for a change is just put you can see the actual overall ranks for defenders. That the rank at the far side is the rank for every defender. Positions. Every defender, right? And then what I've done is I filtered it by price this time. So Brentford are still sat there with respect to production quite highly, and the fixture difficulty is not terrible, right? But then look who's there. I mean, what a toilet pick that is in Eric Dyer, third. But clearly is an option. I'm afraid I've got to swallow some pride and say.
I think I'd go for Emerson though, like at that price point.
But at that price, look, Dyer is a reasonable.
Is he better than Davies? Price. He's more nailed, I guess.
Didn't Emerson just break the record for the most terrible crosses in one game?
Yeah, but I think that's just Spurs' system have looked difficult. So like their wing backs haven't been creating, and they've not really had a playmaker since Ericsson days. So they got to create through the wings, and the wing backs can't deliver the crosses.
I mean, I will say, there was a stat that Spurs are. I think guys mentioned this on Black Box that Spurs are conceding much fewer shots in the box since Conte has come. And Dyer is on some set pieces, so I think Dyer is actually making a case for himself, and we need to change our tune on that.
No, they are very good defensively. I think they have the third best XG against them this season.
But the team I wanted to bring up, guys, was Wolves
in a double game week, though.
Well, I'm just talking generally.
Like generally, I would be looking at them, and like their keeper, I think, is the standout keeper now.
He was.
Yeah, we missed out on those points.
No, but he was.
So Wolves are an interesting case. Over the season, they've conceded 9.7 fewer goals than the expected data would indicate, which is enormous, obviously. But 69% of that, 6.67 of that was conceded, or what was in the last six. So this is the XGC delta, right? Expected goals conceded delta. They've conceded 6.67 fewer goals in the last six than expected data would indicate. So I think when we look at kind of the root of that, and that's just harkening back to NetxG as well, is I think Jose Sa is the reason for that, right? His expected goals prevented has skyrocketed since the beginning of the season. I don't know if any of the other underlying stats have dropped as well, but from what I've seen, just eye test, it's all Sa.
But I mean, price wise, you've got Kilman actually. They're slightly above Semedo, slightly above Cody. You can see them all down there. If you can
Kilman's getting an England call up soon, by the sounds of it. He's being monitored as a left footer.
The interesting
Tyrone Mings, by the way.
The problem you've got a bit with Kilman is his bonus points. He's got less bonus point potential than somebody like Cody. But
out to Fantasy Pavilion, who
what a
marvelous
outfit, Cody. Right? Those two. Just imagine bringing those into your team. My God,
Wolves have to start conceding just so Gerard from Fantasy Pavilion stops
putting us in the toilet.
Putting us in the toilet.
Yeah.
Damn,
to be fair, like I couldn't believe it. I saw they had 14 goals, but it's accumulated 28 points in the league, and that's a madness. Like when you look at the teams around them, every team above them in 8th place, 3 points behind Man United in 7th, and every team below them all the way down to like almost the relegation zone has maybe scored 10 goals more than them. So they've scored 14 goals. And
It's
yet they're
crazy,
sitting there
that-
3 points behind Man United. And they're the only one in the teens for goals.
And to
top
think,
15.
and when I changed this slide deck, I drew the last international breakup. This is how wrong we were. Do you know who was actually on one of the slides? Huang.
Wow. Oh my God, we must have said he was incredible.
What a
never done
cock-up that was. That is my worst transfer of the season, by the way, so far. Moving on to the mid-priced midfield defenders, Laporte tops it.
I feel
Followed by
like I
Reguilon.
missed that. I'm
Yeah.
pissed about Laporte.
Followed by Reguilon, followed by Alonso, followed by Saiss, followed by your mate, who was a bit stupid at the weekend. Gabriel, right?
Yeah, he's a good nailed-on player, but there's blanks. There's blanks.
Yeah.
Tierney seems better for cheaper, but
And then you've got Cash, Thiago Silva, Mings, Cucurella. Interesting.
he's a double game week shout. He'd be my free hit pick.
Shout.
No, he would definitely be in my team. I love that guy.
Oh, over Lamptey?
Yeah. I think
I
he's
don't
just
think
more
so.
nailed. No, I think he won't get
I
injured.
quite like him, Gabe. He's involved in a lot of stuff,
think he's
and his
very
leg might
good.
not fall off.
That's the only thing for me is
It's-
the injury proneness.
I think this is, it's the last kind of fixture crunch period. I think, as long as Lamptey makes it through this one, he'll be just fine. And I think Cucurella, yes, he gets up and down. You can see him on that left wing. He's going up and down, almost like a box to box kind of winger on that side. But Lamptey actually doesn't come back as much and is in the box more. Where Cucurella might give the ball to a player inside the box, Lamptey will actually be inside the box.
Yeah.
And we've seen teams adjust just to take care of Lamptey to account for him from a tactical perspective, because he is so good as a player. I don't think Cucurella,
but I think it's a
matches
price
up.
thing as well. I think it's you look at all those
He's
pros
cheaper,
you
right?
said for Lamptey,
Well,
right?
Lamptey's cheaper.
So you think he's cheaper, and then you like those other things about him as well.
Yeah. I mean, the thing with Lamptey, of course, it doesn't show on the early point, because what this data filters off Hub when they say filter out low-priced players, low minute players. I mean,
Low minutes, yeah.
Low minute
So
players.
he's not played enough minutes, yeah.
So filter those out, because obviously that then skews all the data with respect to when you're
I still think Cucurella is very attacking. Does he take any set pieces? Like, doesn't he take some corners and stuff? Maybe that's just me on FIFA using him for everything. He's like a player who I play in every game.
Do you actually have time to play FIFA?
No, not like these guys. I've been talking to some guys who they warned me before they played. They're like, by the way, I'm actually really good. I'm like, oh wow, okay, I should avoid this match. I don't need to post on Twitter about no public apologies.
With all seriousness, guys, and I know with the double game week, let's confine the double game week to the bin for the next.
I think Cancelo and Trent, right? You've already got them. If you don't have them in your free hit,
what if you didn't have Diaz? Would you go for Laporte?
Yeah, I think Laporte and Diaz are the partnership.
If you didn't own Diaz, would you look at doubling up on Manchester City defense?
I would, but not this double game.
After 22.
No, not now.
After Chelsea,
yeah.
I would do Alonso to Laporte if you had Alonso and you wanted to keep that double City.
And there's Saiss there for anyone who wants that pain and suffering as well. Yeah, again,
I don't know about that. You're thinking about
me
him.
Probably neither, but me neither. But I've been drawn into that one before. But at the end of the day, his numbers are good and he's got a goal threat.
I want one of their defenders. If Nuri could come back, that would be very tasty.
Yeah, that would be ideal. That would be ideal.
Nice.
But do we expect them to continue this?
No, not like this. Not these levels.
I think we'll rely on your NetxG, Gabe, to tell us.
What's no pressure.
No sleepy Joe. No pressure. No pressure. Sleepy XG.
That's right.
That's what we should have called it. Actually, sleepy XG.
What's been interesting is that Wolves they're coming out of a very tough fixture run, and that's where their defense has shined the most, because they've been under siege against good teams, and they've performed well. So like Zaha and Cody have gobbled up the bonus points in recent weeks because
when
of the
they open up,
fixtures.
are they then going to bring when they open up a little bit, because clearly they need, like Nima said, they need to score some goals, and they're going to start leaving a few gaps against some of the.
Why do they need to score some goals?
Because I think that's their next plan. So apparently, when the manager came in, people thought it would go the other way. Some Wolves fans were telling me that he'd be more attacking, and instead he's kind of done what the likes of Conte have done, or Arteta's done. Ranić even's done this. Like they've all come in, they've all tried to make themselves harder to beat. So I do wonder if actually what's happened is they've become harder to beat, and that stuff they were meant to do, that more attacking play, is yet to be seen. And I wonder if when that comes later, could it be more damaging? I don't know, because today someone's just telling us in the chat, like obviously MH saying City conceded against Swindon, and I think that's point in call. Like City probably took the piss and didn't even think they could lose. So like, you know, they took a shit penalty that got saved. Like they're just mocking the game. Like they're probably sloppy there. But when you look at their numbers in the league, their defense has conceded like the lowest number of big chances, the lowest XG, the lowest shots. Like, so I think that double up is very much there. Like I wouldn't look at the FA Cup and let it have any bearing in my mind,
I agree.
especially against that kind of opposition. That would not cross my mind for a double City defense. But overall for Wolves, I think I want one of their defenders because they're cheap enough that even if it doesn't stay at this rate, it's fine. And, you know, statistically, it's not going to stay at this rate forever. But at that price point, it does seem appealing. I would go for it, but be wary of when they might start playing attacking more football again.
Yeah, as I say, I mean, if it's 4.5, I don't mind spending 4.5 and replacing when I've got the option to replace Livramento or someone like that. You know, I don't think that's a problem at all. Just moving to the premiums, guys, and there we go. Cancelo sits top, Trent second, Diaz now third, Van Dijk, then James obviously injured now, Rudiger and Robertson at the bottom. So there's not a great deal of movement there. I think, you know, most of us own, I would say, 3 or 4 of those. I would say I own 3. I'm not sure about you guys. I own the top 3 actually.
Just the top 2 for me.
Yeah,
I moved off of the James and Alonso trains, maybe a bit prematurely.
Yeah. Robertson is in. Is anyone considering Robertson for
only if he had a double? I think that was the plan. Salah downgrade, bring in Robbo as a third Liverpool for the doubles. That didn't happen. I think that's dead wood now. It's either keep Salah or move off him and come back to him 2 weeks.
Fair enough. Right, moving to midfielders then very quickly. And this is, shall we say, budget midfielders. I've gone under 6 million. And I tell you, obviously, he's away at AFCON now, but like sizes, I've been reminded. Ben Rama's actually back up there again. Oddly enough, all of a sudden seems to have woken up from his slumber, because he did have some slumber, didn't he? As a former Ben Rama owner, he became very, very irritating to me for a few weeks. But seems to have woken up again.
Ben Rama.
Jorginho. I mean, don't worry about players being flagged and out. This is just the season's data. That's an interesting one.
He got dropped last game, though, didn't he?
But really, I mean, looking down here, it takes you a while before you start to get. But you've got Gray, Odegaard, players like that. You know,
I think you'd only have Gray if you'd
already Martinelli won't be on there yet for the data, right? So remember that. So, and I think Smith Rowe's probably missing for the data as well.
Minutes as well, yeah.
Yeah. So you got to bear that in mind. I mean, I don't think we need to spend an awful lot of time on this, but the point I wanted to make is that you've got to look a long way down. I know people have got Ramsey. He's on the. If you spot him, he's right down at the bottom.
I wouldn't be looking at him anymore.
I mean, I know he's cheap, Gabe, and I know you spoke about him the other week, but it looks like he is just a bargain. He's just a bargain bucket. I did take a look at him, and I just don't think there's.
I wouldn't start him. Yeah, I wouldn't be starting him. He'd be my fodder.
No. And anyway, we've got Coutinho coming in now. Anyway, haven't
exactly.
We? So that'd be interesting. Let's have a poll. What's his price going to be? Tell us, haulers. What's Coutinho's price going to be? Let's get you
7 mil. The name is too big. 7.5 probably, knowing them. Because
you honestly think it's going to be 7.5 million? If he is, he'll be owned by about 60%.
No. 7 to 7.5, I think, is what they'll go for. But 6.5 is what he deserves, and that's what he is in fan team.
Really?
It's a Villa mid. Like they might compare him to Watkins' price, but I can't see them going that far above Watkins. Like that's
interesting.
Watkins is the ceiling in my opinion.
I have to say, he's very interesting for me. I like him.
They have good fixtures, don't they?
Yes, they do.
Could have a double.
So we've got some numbers here. 7.5. I actually thought he might.
He also has like 30 games over the last 2 seasons with like 2 assists or something.
I thought the name might push him as high as 8.
No, so if they go for 8, that is like if you go there like. I don't know what to call you, but It's definitely not the people I'm competing with in FPL. I would not be paying 8 million for
Are you
Coutinho.
abusing people again, Neiman?
No, but actually, I would not be spending 8 million on Coutinho. No
Yeah.
way. Like, I'll refuse to get him. You'll see.
No. And just to explain, guys, if you're missing a player, it's because of the minutes.
Yeah, if they're not here, that's why.
Yeah,
I like Norgard
because this compares on minutes per 90, right? On sort of like performance per 90. So clearly, you know, somebody like Martinelli would be very, very high up because you know he's not played as many minutes and he's got some good data. But of course, it's a smaller data set, so we have to try and treat everybody the same. So we can always. If anybody's got any particular questions and comparisons which you'd like running, I always say just DM me on Twitter or drop me a note on Twitter and we can run the comparisons for you and we can post them on Twitter as well.
I think the key thing is Watkins is more attractive, they're saying, with Coutinho. So
it could,
that's why I like the shout. Like or Watkins buying a striker, not Coutinho.
Are we going to get to a point, though, in a few weeks' time, and I've been thinking about this a lot, remember when we did these power tables at the start of the season? When in pre-season, we actually looked at it, didn't we? Where we started looking at who was the best ranked forwards. Who were they?
Last
Bamford and Calvert-Lewin, right? Now, both of those players are coming back soon. Now, or already back, or in the case of
Bamford injured himself on a celebration, didn't he, after he came back and got a goal? That's mad.
So are we all of a sudden going to be left with a glut of forwards?
No, I think we're in a situation.
Antonio, Calvert-Lewin, Watkins.
Definitely not. I think we're on the hokey-cokey forward season. So it's like people who had to choose between selling one of Watkins and Antonio a few weeks ago, they sold the wrong one. Then they had to make that decision again with Dennis or King. They sold the wrong one. And I think the forward line where you're going to win this season is buying each cheap striker for the right fixture. So it's almost like we're just jumping between them, hokey-cokey. And
that's the point I'm saying. We're going to end up with a number of them rather than this set.
Yeah, but I don't think there'll be an option at the same time, I guess. So it's like there'll only maybe ever be 2 or 3 that are actually good. So like this week, we said if you free hit, we know what front three we would go with, right? So, and I think it's going to be like that every week. Like the front three on a free hit, they'll be obvious because there's only like 4 or 5 options.
And it might play into the strategy of somebody like Ryan, who's doing so well with his hits. Because if you can make those right moves with those hits and they pay off, and I've only really I've took 3 or 4 hits this season, and I think 3/4 of them have paid off. This one might not. We'll have to see. Mid-priced, Jota, Bowen, Bernardo, Saka now jumped up a one. So there we go. I think this is quite interesting. Madison's there. Rafinha's still there, even though Leeds are awful.
And their fixtures are getting good too.
And the fixtures are starting to. Although the trouble is it doesn't like them in the short term.
Term.
But that will change. But yeah, looking at those, I think Jota, Bowen, Saka. Solid picks, and then he says Smith Rowe's actually jumped onto this table because he's a higher price. Lucas Moura is a bit further down. Interesting, really. I'm very, very hot on Saka now, Nima, going forward.
I said so at the start of the season, even in pre-season, I said from day one that for me Saka was my favorite. And there's been obviously different mids firing, Martinelli, Odegaard, Smith Rowe, even off the bench. But for me, from day one, it was just the nailedness of Saka.
Yeah.
And I think his finishing needed working, and like
but now he's managed that, right?
Now he's got the goals.
Yeah, I agree.
So yeah, I like him, and I think it's one of those things where when you watch on TV, you don't get to see everything. Like when the camera's not got the whole pitch on the kind of screen. And when I go to the Emirates and I watch Saka, like, for every game, even when it was like a cup game, like I think League Cup early rounds, round 2 or 3 against AFC Wimbledon, the moment him and Smith Rowe subbed on, it's just everything goes through Saka. And even when you can't see him on the screen on TV at home, he's running forward, getting the ball. And obviously, I can't say the stuff, but in a few weeks when Gabe talks about that kind of passing matrix data, there'll be some fascinating stuff involving Arsenal and Saka. But yeah, that would be this future one.
I think this slide actually, and we'll whiz through these because I think we can just whiz through them. But I think this pretty much cements where we are, don't you think? I think pretty much shows
Bernardo's a bit low. I would be putting Bernardo with recent stuff and context a bit lower, but obviously it's based on a bit of a longer stretch. So that would be my only thing. City have great fixtures, but I don't know about Bernardo.
Fair enough. Maybe
I
the
think
next international break maybe when we do this next international break, we might do it on a shorter time frame of data. Just now it's starting to get to half the season. I think maybe what we need to do is pull it back in again. I think that's an interesting point.
I think Trossard, just as a final point, is a nice punt.
I was going to bring Trossard up, but Gabe, I'm just mindful of you. Come to you first, then we'll come back to Trossard.
I was just thinking that looking through this list of players, I think some, like Nima was saying, belong in their time already passed, like Bernardo Silva, for example, perhaps. Some are for the immediate, like just for right now, the present, like the players like Mount and Madison. And then there are other players that are kind of like long-term players, and we're looking at Saka versus Rafinha. So it depends really on what your situation is, which players you'll look at. But on that front of Saka versus Saka and Rafinha, they both have great fixtures coming up. They're both somewhat talismanic to their teams. I'd say Rafinha is much more talismanic than Saka is, even though like Nima was saying, when you're there, what maybe Saka may be less talismanic from an FPL perspective,
but it's harder for him, because like he'll have 4 City players all on top of him, marking him, and for like a team like City to pay you that respect, like it's hard to get FPL.
It'll be the same. It's the same for Rafinha though, because Leicester.
No, but he's obviously way more experienced, right? Like he's a way older player. Like by the time Saka's that age, I hope he can be as good as Rafinha.
So I think that's an interesting balance moving forward, not for double Gameweek 22, but moving forward beyond that, the Saka versus Rafinha conversation, or both. They're roughly the same price, and they both have incredible fixtures for a while. So.
Yeah, and going on to Trossard, we've got Nehal in the chat saying, if you can bench him in the blank, which I think they're having 24, is it? He would be a good double game week player. He's out of position, isn't he? He's playing out of position. He's lively.
I prefer him to Morpay. Let's just put it that way, because there's clearly other strikers I would want. I would even maybe look at Chris Wood this week on a free hit over a Morpay.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah. We'll talk about Chris Wood next week.
He's been bad for a few months, but
in the matchup show, Chris Wood may come up in conversation. That's all I'm saying. Right. Premiums: Salah, Son, Mane, Sterling, Bruno. Look, this is the problem. Look at this. Bruno's value 71st ranked.
That's not for me.
Awful. I mean, and there you go. Now I'm thinking, right, what do I do here? How can I possibly placehold Salah with Bruno? Looking at that,
I would get KDB and just suck in the single.
That's the single game weeker.
But he has 3 incredible.
I've already got 3 anyway. Oh no, I haven't.
You got the 3
now. No, I haven't. I've sold Foden. I've got 2. I could do it.
Yeah, I don't know. I think here, like, you could double up on Fernandes and Ronaldo, because I think Ronaldo will be very highly owned.
And of course, KDB's missing because of his minutes. But yeah, I think that just shows that Son would have been a fairly solid. He's ranked 2nd out of all midfielders.
I think he was like the main captaincy option.
He was the
Ronaldo this week.
Yeah.
Him and Ronaldo, that was it. Like, they were the big boys.
At least we didn't do this show yesterday.
And talk all about captaining Son, yeah.
Let's look at forwards very quickly. Well, there we go. Who would have thought that? Budget forwards. 1 and 2, Dennis and King.
I can't believe Dennis costs so much more now than bloody King.
Yeah.
What a train I missed.
But it's very nice. It's a nice day. It's nice because it gives you a good comparison between them, because they sit at the top right. So you can see, Dennis's XG is 13th compared to King's 6th. XA 4th against 5th. Expected goal involved ranked 10 against 2. So King's expected involvement is right up there.
Well, I'm a King owner, and I'm not going to switch to Dennis.
So I mean, that draws. If I didn't own anybody,
No, I'd buy Dennis. No, I'd buy
Would you? You
Dennis if I
still
didn't
go for
know Dennis.
Dennis?
100%, yeah.
Yes, 100%.
100%. No, the game is played on grass, Mariners.
Oh,
so,
no, it is, and that's
No,
why
no,
I own him. And
No,
that's
so
why I own him.
No, but what happens is, the casuals, they see a player in their forward line who's like blanking or injured or whatever flag. They click transfer out, and then the strikers are by default sorted by points, and they see Dennis does the points at the top, and they just click buy. And then we're fucked. People like me who got king, we're fucked.
I mean, there is one bonus. At least Benteke is not top now.
Thank God for that.
Edouard. Trouble is, the fixtures aren't very good right now, and this is the other problem with Palace. But I do like him. He's a good.
I would captain these boys, by the way. So, like right now, I'm on a Josh King captain. Like, unless
are
I
you
take
serious?
Yeah, 100%.
Are you on the loopy juice?
No, 100%. I had Josh King captain and Son vice captain before Son got injured. Obviously, it's a placeholder because this is a bus team, and I don't own Ronaldo yet.
I think that's what I might have to do. I might have to take Calvert-Lewin out. I might have to take Calvert-Lewin out for Ronaldo.
It's interesting that you're taking Calvert-Lewin out and I'm taking Antonio out.
Well, I just think I like personally, I like my double up, and I've already got one Everton asset, and I'm not quite having what I saw last week
you've got
at the library that was Goodison Park, and it was a library, right?
Would you be selling DCL if he scored that pen and got 9 points for bonus?
No, probably not.
Okay, it's interesting to see how outcomes impact our decision making.
Yeah.
And Antonio suddenly got his first return in like.
I don't know. I might have done though, because I didn't. To be honest, I don't know. Maybe I would, because I was really disappointed in Everton. I thought they were really bad.
But they don't have their team back, and now they do.
And that's the problem.
And the pictures are good now, so you're selling.
They still don't have the team.
Fixtures.
They still don't have the team, and that's the problem. And I think Calvert-Lewin. I love Calvert-Lewin, and I was really keen on getting on him early. But if I don't own him, it's not going to kill me, is it? Not whilst his ownership where it is. Yes, I would have ranked gained, but I'm not going to rank lose.
Ray says that there's no way I would captain King. Well, it's on him now, and if I get hit by a person, so be it for the rest of the year.
Mid-price. There we go. Antonio and Watkins now sat there.
Yeah, I think it's like obviously obvious here at this stage. I think Tony, which Gabe has, he was talking about earlier again, like you can't sell a double game week player like who's got fixtures for a hit for another Watford one for a set. You just can't do that.
Yeah. I mean, Tom, just going back to what we're saying last week, Tom's just saying in the chat, Ronaldo has looked very bad. I know.
United have looked very bad.
The thing is, who would we, I mean, honestly.
Well, you all laughed at my Watford captaincy, right? And then now there's no Son.
Who are we going to captain? It's an absolute nightmare.
It's Ronaldo, isn't it? It's going to be Ronaldo or the Watford duo. They're going to be the most captain players this week.
Dennis is at EO is going to be quite high, I would imagine.
You just wait till Maddison plays the actual second game of this current double game week, and he gets like a hat trick, and he ends up like getting bought in by 1 million managers for Son. You just wait and see. We are like talking about stuff before these next matches even have happened.
And Ronaldo, you could write this in the bloody stars, right? I don't own him. And the 1 week that he turns up on a double game week, he's as we've saying, there's people's chats, people are saying, there's FOMO. Ray's mentioning there's FOMO in the.
There was FOMO the week that Ronaldo arrived, and I captained him for a brace. So obviously,
is it that
Ronaldo? You either get 1 point for 3 weeks in a row and then a 12.
Yeah.
Like even the Norwich game where I got the 9 points, I did not enjoy that match. Like Norwich dominated Man United from what I saw, and I felt very lucky to get that penalty goal. So that variance has hit me back now with the Salah captaincy captain and then the DCL penalty miss. So clearly it doesn't always work out. Swings and roundabouts.
Yeah, he looks bad, but he's probably, as MH says, looks bad, but probably still the most likely scorer for Manchester United. Gabe, on this one, what do you think? Are you in general agreement here, Antonio, Watkins? Anything else you see?
No, not really. Yeah, I mean, it seems fine to me. What I'm seeing here is a bunch of players that we want to take out for double game week players.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I'm selling Antonio or DCL. I'm selling.
This tells me that
you're selling Antonio DCL. So is Watkins a sale? Is Watkins a sell for Dennis?
Maybe not.
I'll be waiting for the FA Cup. Like if they qualify, I will sell Watkins. I'll be like, fuck this guy. He doesn't have a double. Screw him.
Yeah.
Like I'm not even sure he's nailed. Do you know why? Because
He's
talks
flagged
are
as
that,
well.
but not just that. The talks are that they want Coutinho to play left wing with one of Ings or Watkins at striker. So you could say on current form, yeah, Watkins is the one who plays striker, but how do we know that you're going to buy Watkins and he'll even have a double if there was one? Like, what
Things
if
are gonna
Ings takes
change,
that
right?
spot?
Coutinho's not gonna stay at left wing. If they try him there, he's not gonna stay.
What do you mean? Villa fans told me that was their way back into Europe, like they thought they would
How-
finish this season.
What percentage of those Villa fans have watched Coutinho in the last 2 years?
Well, to be fair, these Villa fans last season told me they were going to win the Prem, so
Well,
that tells
there
you
go.
what you need to know.
I've been trying to
Yeah,
get back to Europe for 2 years. Different topic.
Ray is saying Madison's EO is going to be high, so I'll take a guess with you here. I bet it won't be higher than 30 to 35%, Ray. That's my, just based on what I've seen in the market movement so far. Unless
Madison
he pops. Now, if he pops a hat trick in this second double game, then yeah, maybe his EO will be like 80%. But I think Dennis and Ronaldo are going to be the closest to 100% this week. And even Kane, he wasn't in my frets last week. So, like, how high is he really going to get to? 20%? So I think Kane captaincy, if you don't like Ronaldo, if you want to be really ballsy and you don't own Ronaldo, would you just go to Kane now and be like, fuck it, despite Son being missing? Like that, I think sword pick for me, it's Kane, and shield pick is Ronaldo.
Well,
and then the Watford duo is like, fuck it, I've given up on life. I might as well have fun in FPL.
I'm sure we'll get to captaincy more next week with the metric.
We're not going to do the captaincy metric today.
But Kane is
No,
insane.
no,
If you're going Kane,
Yeah,
you're absolutely out of your mind.
Well, it's the only option now for
Ronaldo?
Spurs, isn't it?
Yeah, yes, because Kane's
Oh, they're saying Madison will be 70% EO. Oh, I'd love to see that because
Wow.
Madison wasn't even on my rank threats again for EO. So maybe in the
With
top
Madison-
10k he is, but he was not there. As
What are
a
you
threat.
going to do if Madison's 70% EO, Nima?
He won't be unless every single
wanna-
Son and Salah person who sells him get. And plus, I'm going to own him, Chris. So what difference does it make to me? It's just will I gain more or less? Like I'm looking to get Madison for Salah. Now it's going to be for Son, and I'm getting Ronaldo. Like I'm plugging my EO holes. So that's the game I play. That's why I sit in the same rank all season and don't move.
I think that's what I'm going to have to play. I'm going to have to plug some. I'm going to have to do some EO plugging. I think is the general idea. That's the content anyway, boys. So what should we take a few questions and just see what's
let's do it.
flying around?
Take
Do
a couple
you boys want to have a dig around, see what you can find before we sort it out and bugger off?
So we've got some United fans telling us that De Gea and Ronaldo are the only two players likely to haul, and it's been the way all season. So people talking about Sancho or Bruno, perhaps that's not the way to go. And I agree with you, Gavinho. So yeah, that's one of them. I think there's a lot of people saying they're going to buy Mount in here. Many of them are on free hit, to be fair. Some
Yeah, well, that's okay.
Well, some
Free
are
hit's
not,
fine.
but still, it's okay. Oh, they like how Gabe is a pocket Arsenal fan. I think my favorite my favorite message was that, like, I don't think he's even a pocket Arsenal fan. I think he just hates Spurs.
I just it's kind of true. Sorry, Spurs fans. I don't hate you. I just hate your club.
Yeah, it's a question. It's a good one. I like this one, and it's something I thought of. Nehal, halftime sub from Dennis. Does that show that he's not in a good space because of the AFCON snub? Now, there's a couple of conflicting stories about this, isn't there? One of which would really pee him off, quite frankly, if it's what the Nigerian Football Association.
No. I think he was basically like scared that he wouldn't have a starting spot, and he was embarrassed, and he'd sent a tweet out saying, "Oh yeah, I'm so happy I got picked for my national team, like I've always wanted." And then, like, in reality, he didn't want to fight for his place, and he was having the form of his life in his career in Premier League, and thought, I kind of want to be here, and I want to be an old starter, and I want to do well. And I think he tried to save face, and it all came across a bit fucked up looking. But yeah, I have no doubt that the reason FIFA haven't been asked to ban him from playing Premier League fixtures says it all. Like, he was dropped because he probably made a point to them that you're not going to start me. Can I stay home? I think that's what happened in my eyes, and I think he had a knock. That's the latest that's come out, as you saw from that yellow flag. That sub is just that. I think the sub is just that.
So I don't think it's going to affect Dennis's kind of mentality, because one, I think if he wouldn't have gone to AFCON and Nigeria would have kept the coach that kept Dennis out, then he would be more upset. What happened in this, I mean, according to The Athletic at least, and what happened is Nigeria, when they changed their coach, their manager, they forgot to notify Watford in time that they wanted Dennis on to be part of the squad.
And that's because, again, it shows they don't see him as a starting player. So
I know. I
feeling,
disagree with that. No, that's not the narrative. Well, that's not what's being reported. What's being reported is they forgot because they changed managers and they just forgot. But the new manager, and this is part of the reason why they changed managers, is because they want Dennis on the team. Because they realize how good he is.
But he also knows that he's not going to be guaranteed, because I think the player whose spot he was going to take, is it Osman? He's now back fit and gone to the cup. So that's where he was going to play. Like, that was his starting.
But that conversation comes after the deadline was already not met. But the point for FPL is that it shouldn't affect his mental state.
He's still
he should be perfectly fine.
This week. Yeah, perfectly fine.
But him being taken off at halftime, I don't know. Is that a tactical substitution?
No, I think it's a knock. I think it's a genuine knock, because he's out the team this weekend. He's flagged in FPL. But the quote was telling. They basically said, "Yeah, he got a knock. We're going to protect him. He got the knock against Tottenham. We're not going to risk him in the cup, and we want him for those Premier League fixtures." So to me, it sounds like that's like as nailed as it gets to remove the flag when deadline comes.
Yeah, I agree.
He should be fine. I think he should be
fine. And I don't think his head should be fine.
But he is a captaincy option. I know everyone's laughing, but he is. I don't own him, so I'm trying to.
Any other questions? Any other questions you can find, which we haven't already covered? I think
who was the first footballer? Yeah. So from Lama, who was the first footballer you saw that got you hooked on football?
Oh wow! I think I've got the answer to this one actually. Trevor Francis.
You're gonna have to explain that one.
Do you know who he is?
No.
He's the first £1 million footballer.
Oh, okay, that sounds familiar.
Nottingham Forest in the late 70s.
Forest,
it was Forest or Liverpool in those days, in the Brian Clough era.
You remember those days fondly.
I do remember it. Yes, well, I actually used to have. I'm probably my second team actually.
Okay.
Yeah,
interesting.
Probably my second team. Seen him a few times. Seen him beat Grimsby a few times as well.
Is it Luis Figo for Real Madrid?
Oh man, hell no!
You like those days though, but
I don't like. I never liked Figo. Never liked him.
Was he the one with the horse head incident because he went from Barca to Madrid? Or
yes.
Am I thinking, yeah.
Yeah.
The dead horse head. Yeah. Some death threats in those times. Oh my god.
Different times. So I mean, seeing a player live, I'm gonna say it's not live on TV because I was in Venezuela growing up, obviously. And we didn't have access to a lot of good players live down there. But I mean,
look at this. Bloody, hang on a minute.
This is so much.
Someone was like, "These babies will have no idea."
I wonder. I'd say less than 10% of the chat was born during that time in the late 70s.
Yeah, but I was asked a question.
Sure, fair enough. So for me, I mean, I think it has to be. It has to be Maradona. He was the biggest influence in South America. You know, when I was growing up. But I remember being mesmerized by Roger Milla in the 1990 World Cup.
Oh yeah, I remember that as well.
He stole my heart, and I was like, every World Cup since that World Cup, I pick an African team to support. So I think Roger.
You're gonna
Milla
come on AFCON with me, yeah?
I
like AFCON fantasy today. I wasn't gonna do it, and now I'm sucked in fully in.
Oh, I'm not. No chance.
I've got Mane, I've got Mahrez, I've got all the captains. Yeah. Hakimi's about.
Just let us know if someone.
I've even got that Fulham striker. Do you remember him? AK-47 on his shirt. Abu Bakar Kamara.
Oh God, I own him.
All the disciplinary issues.
Cart horse.
He's in my team now in AFCON.
Cart horse.
Oh man, there's some good throwbacks there.
Oh,
so for me, like
4.5 million. I benched him for the entire season, and the one where
I remember the 1 week in you've got a red card. I remember the red card fondly.
And as for the Maradona incident, I remember it very well. I remember putting my foot through the TV almost. I think I
could see you trying to put your foot through the screen there.
I think I got thrown out the house. I think I got thrown out the house that night.
You look so unhappy that was Gabe's pick. You were like, that fucking cheat. I bet inside it was tearing you up before VAR existed. So for me, it was actually
fantastic
Michael Owen.
footballer, God rest his soul, but I'll never forgive him for that.
No. So
Did
Michael
Emer-
Owen. Yeah,
it was
so Michael
yours.
Owen was my man.
Yeah.
Not for his commentary. His commentary's pretty shit. But in terms of that 1998 World Cup,
the goal against Argentina.
I always remember that. That was
Yeah.
a madness for
That's
me
fair.
growing up. And at the same time, that same World Cup, Ali Daei for Iran, because we beat the USA. And I was just like, I was living it up. I was like in Kensington. I see gridlock traffic. The whole Iranian community of London was there. They were like hooting the national anthem on the horns. Some poor sucker in a USA jersey went past, and I was 8 years old, and I just remember the madness that ensued.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And
I'm
well,
sure.
you know what happened after that World Cup, right? And shortly thereafter, he comes to Madrid.
Yeah, it was mad times.
Real Madrid and Stoke player.
Stoke.
He was at Stoke.
Of course, Michael Owen also scored his first senior hat-trick against Grimsby Town as well.
Oh, see, that's a painful one. I made sure I did my
I was
research
there.
when
I
came.
saw him score his first
See, I
senior
made
hat-trick,
sure I
yeah.
picked Owen. Both of us are pissing you off with our picks. I love it. Your national team, your club team, we're coming for both. No, I think they were great. And then from an Arsenal point of view, like I just can't look past the likes of kind of Wright and Bergkamp and Henry and those guys. Like obviously, like growing up, they were like the players that made me support Arsenal.
I think you look back on like what happened around the time when you first started to watch football. So basically, obviously, you talk about Trevor Francis and his million pound player, but also he scored the winner in the European Cup final against Malmo.
Yeah, they have the Champions
So,
League.
you know, and I still remember the John Robertson cross and the Trevor Francis header, which is sort of like got yourself into a right strange position, but I still remember this header to this day. But I would imagine who else would people pick? David Beckham for the free kick against Greece. If that was the first,
there was a whole movie about the guy.
Steven Gerrard, and any of the players who played at England against Germany 5-1. That's another example of a game where people will get hooked on football, right? It's games like Maradona. It's games like I tell you another player actually. Not long after that, Zico for Brazil in the Spain World Cup. Amazing.
That team that should have been the winner of that team. So that team had my favorite player of all time, Socrates.
Yeah,
Socrates,
I remember him. Yeah, I remember him well.
I remember James Rodriguez in the 2014 or 2010 World Cup. One of them when he just was top Golden Boot scorer. How times change. I think his sister is Ospina's wife and all this kind of shit. Like, yeah, man. I'm always looking for the 10 years national team links, like Haaland to Arsenal to come and join his boy Odegaard in it. You heard it here first.
I think it's lovely. This is nice. It's nice to not talk about FPL for a few minutes, actually.
Yeah, it is. Thank God for that, because we're going to be back again next week talking more about FPL.
Everybody else is saying anyway. Look, we've got Cantona. Yeah, I remember the drop kick in at Selhurst Park. That influenced me quite a lot. Actually, I enjoyed that.
What about the real Ronaldo? Brazilian.
Right.
All phenomenal. For sure.
Ronaldo. Yeah, Ian Wright. Yeah.
So for me, he's massive because he came and broke the top goal scorer record at Arsenal, and he arrived when he was like 30, basically. So that was mad. Obviously, Henry overtook him quite quickly thereafter, but he took a record that had been there for decades before Wright arrived, and he's a bit like a Vardy.
Lee Sharp.
Wow. Throwbacks.
From Donny. Lee Sharp. Wow.
Do you have any black and white football ones, like from black and white broadcast days? Did you ever watch football in black and white?
Who, me? Yeah, we used to have a black and white telly.
That's what I was going to check in on. I'm making sure our listeners can know about this. It's like a history lesson.
Which ones I watch? It'd probably be the 1978 World Cup. Probably that would be the first. That would be the first World Cup I could remember. And I remember.
What about the radio? Did you?
I remember Scotland. I remember Archie Gemmell was. I remember Archie Gemmell. Archie Gemmell was like a. He was all over the place.
I never heard of him, Gabe.
But of course, you've got in those days you had Cruyff, didn't you?
Oh,
players
like the Cruyff days.
Playing,
wow.
Right?
Damn, man. Yeah, he invented that. He is something else as well. I think in terms of what about players who become managers, very few go on to become good managers, do they? Like if you're an elite player, it doesn't mean you'll be an elite manager. We've seen many people turn to pundits after a failed stint in management.
or drink, or drink, or drink, or something else. They don't just turn into pundits. They turn into alcoholics and drug takers.
Well, when they're Brazilian, they go back to the favela, get their guns out with the gang, open nightclubs.
I mean, look,
players.
I think it's a great conversation, and I think that at the end of the day, I think this is what we all forget: is that we all get wrapped up in FPL, but we all actually doing it because we love the game.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we genuinely love the game. You know, get me a ticket for Arsenal, Nima, I'll come. As long as they don't, as long as you don't introduce me as the person who's been slagging them off for most of the season, then I'm fine.
I'll take you to the stadium.
Or else I'll probably end up in Camden Lock.
Yeah, no, it's that one. No, there's only one thing you've got to like. You'll probably do it naturally because when you watch players like Saka this season and Smith Rowe, and then you hear this whole stadium singing about them running down the wing, you'll end up just singing it, which is what happened with like Az and Lin. Like they came to the Emirates, we watched the Palace game. They were going mental when they thought Ben White got that assist. Obviously, it counted as a Martinelli assist, I think, in the end. But it's nice to take them. I've taken United fans to the Emirates. I've seen them sing the Super Jack Wilshere song when he won 1-0 in an FA Cup replay in a cold Jan. So the one rule is you've got to be singing them Arsenal songs when they come around. And the main one is, as we know about our North London friends. So I'm looking forward to that North London derby, and I'll keep my trash talk till after the 16th of Jan because I'm not sending shots. Yeah, I'm not sending shots now.
Save yourself.
Yeah,
man.
I can't
Save
have egg
yourself.
on my face. No egg on my face yet. None of that. I'm waiting to see how that match goes. But if we beat Spurs, that top 4 race is looking spicy. If we lose to them, it's looking like what I thought, which is our seeding is fit.
Be a good game. I look forward to it. Hopefully it's not on too late at night. But anyway, there we go. We see. Guys, I think we're done. Shall we? We're back on. I don't know if we're all back, and we're not even quite sure which 3 of us or which 2 of us are on next week.
Don't know.
If I have another night the way I've had tonight, I'm not quite sure I'll be able to do a show at this time of the week. So it may be you 2, but alternatively, it could be all 3 of us. So
I think we said Wednesday, didn't we? So ideally after the fixtures from the double game week wrap up.
So like Thursday morning my time. So this time, so Wednesday evening in the UK. I think I'll be fine.
Shout out to FPL Escapades as well, who I think it's like 5:15 a.m. and I think they've been here from the start. So either they woke up early or they're going to bed late. But thank you, my man.
Oh my God, who's my favourite Singaporean player, Mariner? I don't know.
I think you got to think about that and answer it next episode.
The young.
Surely you don't know any.
I'll tell you, there's a young lad who's just gone to. Has he gone to the Premier League? There's a young lad, but he's not. There? He can't. But he's not. I think he's there, but he won't. He's not doing his national service. They want him to do his national service, and
2 years.
And I think he's renouncing his
citizenship.
I think because of he doesn't want to do that. It's such a shame because Singapore really need players. They need good players. They've just done okay in this Suzuki Cup. They went down to 8 men. In the semi, 8 men against Indonesia.
8 men, that has been mental.
I would have gone if I didn't have to have a bloody COVID test as well. That's the pain. I think.
By the way, Nehal, so I know he says what footballers become when they retire. We're talking about managers and bad managers and pundits, and he says some wife beaters too. I think please take the United legends outside and talk to them. They're United owned them. Every time I look at United, I look at Granny Shaggers. I look at sister-in-law. I look at sister-in-law.
We're trying.
I look at women beaters. I'm just saying, Man United fans, take your legends outside and talk to them about being a role model. You know, I have to talk to them about being a role model. Yeah. Talk to your fans. Talk to your legends. Fans, please talk to your United legends. There's definitely some. What's the word? Patterns and trends there about what some of those ex-legends from United.
I don't think you noticed that I muted you there, did you?
No, I saw. That's why I repeated.
I
wanted to make sure it didn't get.
I think they have it covered with the Marcus Rashfords of the world. Keep it up.
Oh man, yeah. Anyway, Nima, do you want to do the outro? I'll let you do it. You can close the show as the.
I will do.
Should we say as the assistant?
I've made it onto the. What do you call it? The steering room of the ship. Let's hope I don't accidentally crash.
I'm bracing for the crash now.
Yeah, I'm ready for the crash. So yeah, no, it's been a great show. Obviously, quite spontaneous and nice to chat to everyone in the live chat. Thanks to everyone who's been up early or stayed up late. We will be back next Wednesday, hopefully, as we said, with all 3 of us, if not just Gabe and I. But otherwise, I think just enjoy the FA Cup this weekend. Enjoy the break from FPL. Try to not think about it till closer to deadline. And while you're here, please do support the channel. Hit like, it helps us get found. Subscribe if you're new. And when we see you next, I'm sure it will be a very exciting green arrow for all of us. So yeah, that's my plan. It's been a lot of red arrows. But thank you, everyone. Lovely to see you, and happy 2022.
See you.